In the year 2000, one meeting could have changed entertainment history. A struggling startup offered itself to a giant for just $50 million. The giant laughed. That giant was Blockbuster, the undisputed king of home video. The startup was Netflix. This wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a fatal symptom of corporate arrogance. How did a multi-billion-dollar empire fail to see the future right in front of them? This is the story of Blockbuster's monumental downfall and a strategic mistake worth billions. We will decode the real reasons behind one of the greatest business wars ever fought, revealing the critical lessons hidden within Blockbuster's collapse. In the 1990s, Blockbuster was more than a store. It was a cultural ritual. The iconic blue and yellow ticket stub logo was a beacon for weekend entertainment. The experience was part of the magic, wandering the aisles, debating movie choices with family, and grabbing popcorn and candy at the counter. They weren't just renting videos, they were selling an experience. At its peak, Blockbuster was a financial behemoth, with over 9,000 stores worldwide and a market valuation soaring above $5 billion. They were on top of the world. Their business model was simple: rent movies and profit handsomely from the industry's most hated feature, late fees. These fees weren't just a penalty, they were a goldmine. In 2000 alone, late fees accounted for $800 million, a staggering 16% of their total revenue. CEO John Antioco presided over this empire, confident in their physical retail dominance. To them, the brick-and-mortar experience was invincible. They owned Friday nights. Their scale was their strength, but it was also the seed of their inflexibility. They were a battleship, powerful but slow to turn, sailing in seemingly calm waters. But a new, smaller and faster vessel was about to appear on the horizon, one that didn't play by the same rules. And it was powered by a simple idea. An idea born from a customer's frustration, specifically a $40 late fee for the movie Apollo 13. This was the spark for the revolution. That frustrated customer was Reed Hastings. In 1997, he co-founded Netflix, offering DVDs by mail with a radical concept, a subscription model with no late fees. Their system was ingenious. Subscribers would create an online queue of movies they wanted to see, and Netflix would mail them out one by one. Convenience was the ultimate product, but initially, it was a niche service. By 2000, Netflix was still losing money, struggling to stay afloat in the wake of the dot-com bubble burst. Many investors thought the idea was absurd. Shipping physical discs through an old-fashioned postal service seemed like a step backward in a digital age. Desperate for a lifeline, Hastings and his team flew to Dallas to meet with Blockbuster's executives. Their proposal was simple. Blockbuster would buy Netflix for $50 million. Netflix would become Blockbuster's online brand, handling the nascent DVD by mail market while Blockbuster focused on its stores. It seemed like a perfect synergy, but Blockbuster CEO John Antioco and his team didn't see synergy. They saw a joke. According to Netflix co-founder Mark Randolph, they struggled not to laugh. The offer was flatly rejected. Blockbuster saw Netflix not as the future, but as a very small niche business that wasn't worth their time or money. Hastings and his team left empty-handed and disheartened. But that rejection lit a fire. Now it wasn't about partnership, it was about survival and revenge. This single event is often cited as the reason Blockbuster failed. But the truth is deeper. The rejection was merely a symptom of a much larger, fatal disease. The first and most critical disease was addiction. Blockbuster was addicted to late fees. That $800 million revenue stream was too valuable to risk. Adopting a Netflix-style subscription model meant killing their golden goose. It would have required sacrificing guaranteed short-term profits for a risky, unproven long-term gain. This is the classic innovator's dilemma. A successful company's existing business model actively prevents it from pursuing disruptive innovations that could cannibalize its own success. In fact, Blockbuster had a chance to partner with Enron in 2000 for a video-on-demand service. But the vision was flawed, and the partnership collapsed, souring them on digital delivery. Their internal culture was also resistant to change. Ideas that threatened the status quo of the retail stores were often shot down by management focused on quarterly earnings. Secondly, they were chained to their physical assets. That thousands of stores and millions in real estate investments created massive corporate inertia. Their strength became their prison. A digital-first, mail-based model required a completely different infrastructure, one they weren't willing to build from scratch when their current system was still profitable. Finally, pure corporate arrogance blinded them. They saw the internet as a novelty, not a fundamental threat. They underestimated the speed at which consumer behavior could change. While Blockbuster slept, Netflix was relentlessly focused on improving its service, building a loyal subscriber base, and most importantly, collecting data. They were learning what you watched, when you watched, and what you might want to watch next. This data would become their ultimate weapon. By the time Blockbuster finally woke up and launched Blockbuster Online in 2004, it was years behind. Their attempt was half-hearted and confusing. It was too little, too late. The game had already changed, and Blockbuster was still playing by the old rules. The final blow was yet to come. The crucial wave Blockbuster missed was the explosion of broadband internet. Between 2000 and 2007, US home broadband adoption skyrocketed from 9% to over 50%. This technological shift created the perfect launchpad for Netflix's true Checkmate move. In 2007, they introduced Watch Now, their video-on-demand streaming service. This was the true disruption. It eliminated the final friction point for the consumer, waiting for the mail. Entertainment became instant and on demand. Blockbuster, with its billions invested in physical stores and inventory, had no answer. How could a brick-and-mortar chain compete with a library in the cloud? Their attempts to counter were futile. They focused on kiosks and even tried eliminating late fees, but it only served to anger their store franchisees and accelerate their losses. Activist investor Carl I. Kane waged a proxy battle, seeing the company's flaws, but even his aggressive tactics couldn't force the unwieldy giant to pivot fast enough. In 2010, the inevitable happened. Weighed down by nearly $1 billion in debt and dwindling relevance, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. The king was officially dead. The empire built on Friday night rentals was dismantled, sold for parts. A cultural icon became a relic of a bygone era. Meanwhile, Netflix, the company once laughed out of a boardroom, was on its way to becoming a $100 billion global entertainment powerhouse. Their victory was a testament to vision, adaptability, and the courage to make their own business model obsolete before someone else did. From a $50 million offer to a multi-billion-dollar valuation, their journey redefined the meaning of a David versus Goliath story in the corporate world. As Netflix expanded globally, Blockbuster's presence vanished, leaving just one final store in Bend, Oregon, as a monument to a fallen empire. So, was the $50 million meeting the single reason Blockbuster failed? Number. It was the ultimate symptom of a culture that refused to adapt. Their downfall teaches us a brutal but timeless business lesson. What makes you successful today can become the very anchor that sinks you tomorrow. Blockbuster didn't fail because of Netflix. They failed because they were unwilling to become Netflix. They protected their present at the cost of their future. It's a cautionary tale for every industry giant. The next disruption isn't just a niche business. It might be the company that will one day attend your funeral. Always be willing to question your own success, and never ever laugh a small startup out of your boardroom. You never know who you're talking to.